Good morning, almost afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that kind introduction, Paul. I, of course, begin by proudly acknowledging the traditional owners and paying my deep personal respect to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal Victorians in the room today. I certainly want to thank the team at the Chamber for the invitation to be here. I've been pretty focused on the budget for a couple of months. I hadn't quite anticipated this size of room. So thank you so much for being here. I understand there's around 560 of you, and what that says to me is that you are willing, ready and eager to engage with government. So thank you very much for being here. I've had the opportunity to meet several of you in the 5 months that I've been in the role. Hopefully, now that my first budget has been delivered, I'll be able to meet more and more of you and indeed perhaps get out of my office. Thank you, Saul, for your presentation. I do have a standing invite to go and have a look at the port. If anyone else has got some cool assets that I can come and have a look at, it is nice to get out and about and meet you in your own habitats. And so that is something that I like to do, engaging with business. You all do very interesting things, and it's the partnership between business and government that is going to make my job easier, and I'll be better at it for engaging and taking on board your advice. Paul, in particular, your advocacy over the last 5 years, I think, in this role, you couldn't have a better champion for business in Victoria. Someone that understands the regions and the city, comes to me with He's a fierce advocate. He's pretty frank. I'm pretty frank back, I've got to say, but I'm going to miss you in this role. But thank you so much for what you do and the contribution that you've made to the Chamber. I've got a series of slides that I'm going to take you through, and I promise I'm going to try and get them through pretty quickly. I bore myself before I bore others, is generally what happens. So I will get a sense if I need to speed up a bit. There are some important messages that I want to relay. I've got some slides which will go through the budget. They're tailored to this audience, so hopefully you find them interesting. But I am keen to make myself available with Heidi on the couch to have a bit more of an engagement rather than just speak at you. But I will get through these. As a government, we have been obviously really focused on the cost of living for everyday people, whilst also investing in frontline services that Victorians rely on. This budget contains a lot of those investments, but we've been able to do that because in the economy, because of the investments in the economy, and because we're firmly on track to deliver the government's fiscal strategy. I was proud to be able to deliver an operating surplus this year. It's the first since the pandemic. Importantly, we have average surpluses of $1.9 billion over the forward estimates, and towards the end of the forward estimates, net debt is declining as a proportion of the economy. We're achieving our fiscal strategy by focusing on creating a sustainable infrastructure pipeline and moderating our expenses as a proportion of the economy. And just today, the global ratings agencies have provided their initial views, which was a little bit of a relief. Standards & Poor's have said, "We view Victoria's commitment to controlling operating costs, delivering promised savings and slowing growth in debt as important for maintaining the AA credit rating." And Moody's has noted that the government's cost-saving measures and continued reprofiling of capital expenditure sustain Victoria's track record of strong fiscal management and governance. As Treasurer, I am committed to overseeing a sustainable infrastructure program and returning our infrastructure investment towards pre-COVID levels. We expect government infrastructure investment to moderate to $15.6 billion by 28-29, averaging $17.9 billion a year over the budget and forward estimates. We'll achieve this because we are about to complete and open some of the government's landmark major projects, such as the Metro Tunnel and the Westgate Tunnel. I had the opportunity to visit Parkville Station, which I've seen from the outside for many, many months, because it's often the way that I come into work most days, and it's just a glass box. It's incredible, that station. Like, I went down with a heap of primary school kids. It's an incredible piece of infrastructure to open this year. Obviously, 5 stations, transforming the way that we move around the city, extra services facilitated as well. I'm really, really looking forward to Victorians being able to experience that project. Total expenses for the general government sector are forecast to increase 2.6% a year on average over the forward estimates, with revenue forecast to increase by 3.8% a year on average, and the economy expected to grow by 5.3% a year on average. So in real terms, our expenditure is moderating against growth revenue and the growth in our economy. This, of course, you would understand, sets us up well to deliver sustained growth that reduces net debt as a share of GSP, which in turn makes it easier and gives us greater capacity to pay our debts. Just like many of you who run businesses, it is important that the government maintains a balanced budget sheet, so it has more opportunities to grow and invest in the initiatives that have the biggest impact. There are many nice-to-haves. There are lots of things in government we would like to do, but those nice-to-haves have diluted our focus. That's why I am focused on restructuring the public service so we can focus on and deliver the frontline services and essential services that Victorians need, like healthcare, education and child protection. And this is why I've commissioned an independent review of Victoria's public service led by Helen Silver to ensure spending is aligned with the needs and priorities of Victorians. This is also about ensuring that the public sector is delivering excellence. It's not about letting go of numbers of people. It's about making sure that the people that we have, the valued people we have, the public sector are amazing people. They that work every day to support the community, making sure that they're not distracted by the busy work. They're occupied by the important work. But Victoria is at a Victoria raises the lowest revenues per capita of any jurisdiction, which it's annoying, really. Not being able to have flowing money without having to make hard decisions is a really difficult part of the role that I have. We receive the least revenue per capita of all the states, a trend which has persisted over the last 10 years. Victoria received $12,282 in revenue per capita in 23-24. That is 5% less than New South Wales and 20% less than Queensland. With just royalties alone, Victoria can only raise $32 per person, with many orders of magnitude below the Australian average of $1,305 per person. Resource-rich states can dig things out of the ground to balance their budget sheets, while we do have to rely on taxation to deliver the same level of services that Victorians rightly expect. As our spending moderates, Victoria's economy is galloping ahead. Over the past decade, Victoria has led the states in real economic growth, creating over 900,000 jobs and adding $138 billion to Victoria's economy. That strength has allowed us to be resilient to global cost of living pressures and elevated interest rates over the past 2 years, with the economy continuing to grow. Victoria's economic growth is expected to gather pace in 25-26, with forecast real GSP growth of 2.5%, up from an estimated 2% in 24-25. And Victorian wages are expected to grow at a rate higher than inflation for the first time since the pandemic. This is good news. Household spending will be up, real wage growth will be up, and an expected easing of interest rates, as we saw yesterday, mean that our economic outlook is strong. The number of Victorians in a job has grown by more than any other state since the peak of the pandemic, and our employment forecasts are expected to increase. Businesses are recognising the strength of the Victorian economy by continuing to choose Victoria as a place to do business and invest in. This is more than any other place in the nation. In the last 5 years, more than 113,000 new businesses have been created in Victoria, the largest percentage growth of any state. Victorian business investment has increased by 46% compared with 28% in the rest of the country. And over the past year alone, it grew by 3.7% compared with a 1.3% fall across the rest of Australia. Every sector category has reached new levels of business investment. There's now a clear trend that Victoria is the place to be if you want to invest and grow your business. This includes a sustained increase in intellectual property investment, which reflects firms investing in research, development and computer software. The trend has accelerated since 2020 as data centres, distribution hubs, cloud software and artificial intelligence investments have all increased. I've got a standing invite for a data centre visit as well. Is anyone, who's been to a data centre? Apparently they're cool, is that right? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that visit. Victorian businesses are pushing on the frontier, and with backing from our government, we're becoming world leaders in advanced global industries. The data here matches what we are hearing on the ground. ABS firm investment surveys are predicting further growth in 25-26, backed by higher demand for forecasts and lower interest rates. Businesses are betting with their balance sheets and they're betting on Victoria. That is not to say that there is greater opportunities ahead. But we know we have to commit to backing business to make sure we do keep growing, and many of you will tell me this, and my door is open to these messages. Growth will mean, as I said before, more jobs, higher wages and better standards of living. And at a time of increasing global economic uncertainty, it is our government that's backing Victorian businesses and backing Victorian jobs. This budget that I delivered yesterday delivers $627 million to help businesses find new opportunities and support the Victorian economy. There is $150 million for the Victorian Investment Fund, which will be mostly managed by my colleague, Minister Pearson, but there is a $50 million regional stream, and I also happen to be the Minister for Regional Development, so very interested in assisting regional businesses, as you could understand. $35 million will deliver programs for small and medium-sized businesses to boost exports and navigate a challenging international trade environment. I've had immense positive feedback in relation to this announcement and this investment. I think, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, about 5% of your members are exporting, but you think many, many more could. And it's this investment that we hope will facilitate and give people confidence and the ability to access markets and grow their businesses, and obviously supported by a range of our business offices around the world. There's $3 million for small business toolkit programs, providing access to advice services and capability building, and we're continuing to boost business skills with mentors. As Paul indicated, this budget does fulfil the funding required to implement the economic growth statement. There's over 40 initiatives in the statement, and I'm sure you've all been given copies, and you can see from there some of the initiatives that we're focused on, and I'm very proud to be working with a range of ministers on this. There's the Minister for Industry, Colin Brooks is here, Minister for Tourism, Steve Demopoulos, obviously Minister Pearson is Minister for Finance, but a lot of ministers are involved with this, the Minister for TAFE and Skills, obviously. It's a really good document, a really good blueprint to ensure that we are focused on the areas that will have the most impact. It is, and it was hard, the disciplined decisions that we had to make in this year's budget, but I think there was a collective sigh of relief amongst groups such as yourselves that there are no new taxes in this year's budget. It builds on a history of my predecessors in attempting to ensure that we are looking at our tax settings as best as possible to support business growth, whilst also being able to deliver the services that Victorians rely on. You'll often hear about all of the taxes that the government have introduced, but not many people often reference, or I try to, that we've cut or abolished taxes 65 times. And I know that this is a topic that I'll continue to have conversations with people in this room over, and more than happy to do so. I will finish with this. At a time of increasing global economic uncertainty, it is the Allan Labor government that wants to and will demonstrate that we back Victorian businesses and jobs. This budget delivers on our fiscal plan. It returns us to surplus. It begins to reduce net debt as a proportion of the economy. This is my first budget. I've got lots more to do, and I welcome your feedback and your assistance in helping me do the best job that I can. Thank you for having me.